Hello. I recently shared an article written by my former colleague Roisin Robinson about how to support your child with anxiety in relation to returning to school. So I contacted Roisin because I thought I would like to have a conversation with her about her work as a play therapist to share with all of you. She happily agreed to speak to me, and what follows here is our conversation about her work with the service, Emotional Wellbeing Mental Health Service, and what she does as a place therapist within that service. Hi Roisin.
Hi Sue.
Thanks so much for speaking to me today. Now, you and I formerly have been colleagues, and you are now a play therapist working in the service. So maybe you can just give us a little bit of background about yourself and how you came to be a play therapist.
So I was very lucky to be able to work with you previously. So I worked at a school for children with additional needs for 11 years. It was absolutely an amazing experience, and it taught me so much, especially from the young people I was lucky enough to work with. So I started off wanting to be a teacher. And then as I got my degree, I decided, you know what, there's something else that I want to be able to support children with, not just the academic side of things. And I was really drawn to young people that were struggling emotionally. And I felt that was just my calling. I felt that that's what I wanted to do. So I remember as a child, absolutely loving playing. And I remember when I got my toys and they just didn't do the things anymore. My imagination just kind of changed, and creativity and imagination is just magic, and I love playing and stuff with young people and seeing their imagination still working, and it brings it out of me as well. I get that same feeling again. It comes back. So yeah, that's kind of where my journey was at. So whilst I was working at the school, I trained to become a play therapist.
Yeah, and here you are now, fully qualified. And you're working for something that we refer to as the service, which stands for Emotional Wellbeing and Mental Health Service. Could you just tell us a little bit perhaps about that service?
Yeah, so it's a service. So you might have heard it being called CAMS in other areas, but we're the same service, but we're with the North London Trust, and so in Essex we're called so it's the same thing, and so it's a service to support young people and their families that may be struggling with their emotional difficulties, mental health, well-being. So we work with children, I think, from age 4 to 18, but I think it's different. It might be a bit older for children, young people that have got additional needs. So yeah, we do individual sessions, one-to-one. We do a lot of group work. Group sessions have been really effective, and we do parenting groups, workshops, a whole range of things.
Yes, so a lot of different work that you offer within your service. And obviously your specialism is around play. So can you just tell us a little bit about what is a play therapist and who sees a play therapist and what sort of things go on in a play therapy session?
Obviously, as adults, it's really difficult for even us to talk about what's going on for us. If something difficult's happened, it's really hard to talk about these things. So for a young person or a child to have to do that, when they might not have the words, they might not have the understanding, they might be scared, it's really difficult. So that's why play therapy is just fantastic at helping young people process, understand, try and make sense of the difficult things that they may be feeling or they may have gone through. Typically in a play therapy room you would see a sand tray, my favourite, with all the miniatures where they can create their world. So we work a lot in symbols and metaphor, and looking at the brain, symbols and metaphor light up the pathways in the brain like more than anything else, and so that's why working in a creative way, in a non-direct way, you see a lot more come out from the surface. Because I know what it must be like when you talk to your children, Sue. You say, "Oh, how are you?" "Yeah, fine." "Did you have a good day?" "Yeah." "Anything happen?" they just, when you talk directly like that, not much comes out. But when you're doing something like Play-Doh, puppets, sand tray, role play, so much more will come out if you work in a more direct way. Your focus is on something else, so more can come out in another way.
Yeah, so I guess it's a bit like the process of counselling, isn't it? Except from, instead of using language, what you're doing is just interacting with objects, and then you're looking at what you see in the children and kind of reading the mood and all the different signals that you get, and being able to kind of interpret that and help them move forward by focusing on something else that's non-direct and non-threatening.
Exactly. So, I just work with whatever the young person brings into the room. So you might find some young people are able to verbalise and have that conversation about what's going on for them. For others, it's not as easy, especially for children that are non-verbal or have communication difficulties. We look for the patterns, we look for the mood, we reflect it back. And also we do teach some coping strategies as well. So you might do a session where it's all non-direct, but then I might say, hey, I can see that you're struggling with this. Have you ever tried doing this activity? And it might be like a breathing or a grounding technique that could help them.
So I noticed you talked about young people just now. So most people would think, oh, play therapy, that's for like small children. But interested to hear that, the service goes up to the age of 18 or up to 25 for young people with additional needs. So can you maybe say something then about how is that different then when you work with young people who are a little bit older?
Yeah, so for some young people, like I say, they won't maybe want to use. Well, actually, most of the time I've worked with young people, they do. Maybe at first they look at it and think, oh, I don't want to play with the sand, or I don't want to play with the Play-Doh. But once they get into the room and once they feel maybe a bit more relaxed and comfortable, then they might start using those things. So, okay, maybe the older young people might not play in the same way as, say, a 6-year-old, but it's so adaptable. It's still the same concept. You're still using your imagination, you're still being creative, and you're still, more will come out from the unconscious mind than it will from the conscious. So that's kind of where it works. And I don't know about you, but I always find if everything feels like such a muddle, it really helps to have some kind of visual thing to help me focus. So it could be we make a timeline of their life to help understand them. It could use it involves making maps. It could involve using symbols. These are brilliant ways of expressing ourselves that doesn't involve having to talk.
Yes, some great ideas that you've shared there. Now, I noticed that you recently published an article about helping children with anxiety about returning to school after the COVID situation. And I shared that myself, the article that you wrote. And you shared some examples in there as well that were really useful. I just wondered if you wanted to just outline a couple of those strategies that you'd mentioned and give us a little bit more detail about how people at home might use them.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. So, obviously we've got really strange, uncertain times at the moment, and as a service we've really had to adapt how we're providing the therapy and support for our young people and their families. So I've been in a lot of Zoom calls just like this, which involve scavenger hunts. Now, scavenger hunts are fantastic because not only do they get the child or young person moving, because I don't know about you, but I've spent a lot of time sitting down during this pandemic, whether it be in front of my laptop, doing some work, maybe watching TV on the tablet, as many of our young people and their families have been doing. And we know that getting our bodies moving releases those endorphins that makes us feel happy. So it's a great activity to get us moving, and it's like just a bit of fun. Who can find it first? So a scavenger hunt is just how it sounds. The young person might say to me, I want you to go and find something that's fluffy, and I might say to them, I want you to go find something that helps you calm yourself or something that you're thankful for. So it can be a range of things. And when we're doing that, not only are we doing something that's fun, it's also a great distraction, but it's a grounding technique. Now, when I say grounding technique, that means that it brings us back to right now. Because what anxiety does to us, it's our mind race, just like that, and we're thinking about the worst case scenario, and we're thinking into the future, but we need to be present right now. So it involves using our five senses. So let me remind you of your five senses, just in case you've forgotten. So I'll get my trusty bag. It involves looking for something that you might be able to smell. Bit of vanilla. I like one of the bloggers there showing you what I've got. I mean, other scents are available from different shops. So yeah, just a nice something that you can smell. Something that you can feel. Now, hand cream is also a great thing because that's a bit of our self-care. So it's feel and smell. Oh, that's lovely, that one. Something we can hear. That sound always reminds me of Christmas when the reindeers are coming. And something that you can taste. Now, you might have some little sweets or something, or you might think of the last thing that you've eaten. I had a lovely sandwich at lunch, or you might take a sip of your drink. I also do a lot of breathing with the young people that I work with, because we know that when we're anxious, our heartbeat, it affects our bodies, and our hearts will be racing, and we might feel that we're short of breath. But if we can control our breathing, that can help us calm down and relax. That's not only when we're feeling anxious, it could be when we're really excited, and also when we're angry or sad. So controlling your breathing, I mean, you might be thinking we're all breathing, but I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling really stressed out or worried, I can feel myself breathe like this, and then someone says to me, calm down, breathe, and I'm like, I am breathing. But if we slow down and really focus on our breaths, that can really help calm us down. So a great way to remember this is breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. Imagine you're blowing some bubbles. So you take a deep breath in, slowly blow out. Oh, where did they go? And then you just see your problems pop away. Let me just do that one more time. Slowly breathe in through my nose, breathe out through my mouth, and watch your problems pop away. You can also do that with cookies. What I'd like you to do is put on some oven mitts, and imagine you've just baked some delicious cookies. Now, I'm not sure what flavour you might go for. It might be a chocolate chip, it might be mint, it could be some gooey caramel ones. Whatever ones you like, I want you to imagine that you open the oven using your gloves, you take the cookies out, and you take a deep breath in to smell them. Oh, they smell so good. But they're too hot still, so you need to blow on them to cool them down. So, but then you want to smell them again, so take a deep breath in and then blow on them to cool them down, just like that. So that's another way to help with your breathing.
So I love what you said there, those examples about staying in the moment and thinking about breathing. And I do a lot of talking about sensory processing difficulties that affect so many of our children. Yeah. And one of the things that we know is that we have, our central nervous system has this sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system, and they work in tandem. And one is telling you to do stuff, and the other one is telling you to slow down. Mm-hmm. And the one telling you to slow down, it's controlled by this main nerve that runs through the body called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve actually runs through the throat. And this is the reason why deep breathing is specifically useful for calming down, you know, whatever the reason, whether it's anxiety or anger, like you mentioned. So like doing that, breathing in and breathing out, and actually even breathing out through the mouth and actually making a noise or breathing out slowly, because you have to use almost like a valve at the back of your neck to control the breathing, and that process of doing that triggers the vagus nerve and helps you to calm down. So some really useful strategies there that you've mentioned. So I thought that was worth just saying.
No, that's great. Thank you, Sue. That it links in all together then. So yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. So just obviously listening to you speak, I can imagine everybody watching that is thinking, yeah, Roisin's fantastic. I'll just ring her up. I'll just ring up the Hume service and ask Roisin to pop round and do some play therapy. Obviously, it doesn't work that way. Can you just give us a little overview about what is the referral process? How do people access the Hume service?
So yeah, great questions. So you can go onto our website or you can phone us, and then it will take you to one of our clinicians, and this is a single point of access. Now they will make the assessment, and they'll decide whether it will be for our service or they might signpost you to another service. And then if it comes through to our service, to UMS, then you'll have a initial assessment with I do them or one of my colleagues, and then we'll decide again whether it's for our service or it might be for a different service. So yeah, that's kind of how it works.
And I can understand as well that there are a number of different specialists within the UMS team. Obviously, you're a play therapist. I'm guessing there's other people with other specialisms. Am I right?
That is correct, Sue. Thank you. So we have people that may be specialists in more behaviour difficulties. We've got people that work with young people that have got additional needs. So they've got a greater understanding of autism or ADHD. And then we also have psychiatrists. We have people that specialise in moods and anxiety, maybe more like CBT kind of way of treatments. And then you have people that specialise in more complex cases that may involve multi-agency work. So they work alongside other professionals, other agencies to make sure that we're inclusive, we are able to meet all of the young people's needs and support their families in doing so.
Oh, that's great. Thanks so much for that, Roisin. And obviously it's the single point of access is the first point of call for everybody.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you so much for speaking to me today anyway, and for explaining about your work as a play therapist. And it's great to catch up with you after all this time and see you're still doing such a great job, still with such enormous enthusiasm and love and devotion for all the children and young people that you work with. So well done for that, and keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you so much. You too, Sue. Referring our families and young people to Maze has been such a great support network, and we get such good feedback for all the work that you do. So it's great that we can work together in supporting these families.
The lovely Roisin, always so energetic and enthusiastic and full of love for the children and the work that she does. She obviously works for the Hume service, and I know lots of people have had difficulties accessing service from the Hume service, but this is mostly because we have such an epidemic of children with high levels of anxiety and stress and low mood and behaviours that are a result of all sorts of other issues going on for them. Ultimately, though, the answers to helping children to change lie within families. It's great to get the guidance of professionals, but ultimately great for parents to have a really good understanding of the needs of their children so that they know how to put those supports in place. And that's what we're all about at Maze. I know that's the ultimate goal of the Hume service, or any of the professionals that any parent would go to see. So I've shared all the links here for the single point of access for the Hume service, how to get in touch with them, and hopefully if you feel in need of help, you'll be able to give them a call, speak to a clinician, and see if you can get the support that you need for your child.